A drug dealer kidnapped the biker president's daughter. What the club did next was brutal. Rain slid off the tin roof of the Iron Wolves clubhouse, tapping out a restless rhythm that matched the mood inside. The scent of gasoline, leather, and old cigarette smoke hung thick in the air. Men with sleeveless cuts and inked arms paced like caged animals. Nobody spoke, nobody dared. The tension sat in everyone's throat like a swallowed blade. At the center of the room, biker President Ronan Steele Carver stood with his fists pressed against the wooden table, knuckles white, jaw tighter than a vice. His broad shoulders barely moved except for the deep, uneven breaths he pulled into his chest. He was built like a man made for war, tall, scarred, dangerous. But tonight even war would have stepped aside for him. Because tonight, Steele's 17-year-old daughter, Lyra, was missing. And not just missing. Taken by the one man the club had sworn would never rise again on their territory. Zane Cade, a dealer, a trafficker, a man whose charm hid rot, the kind of man who sold poisons in alleyways and left broken bodies in forests, the kind of man Steele had once spared, only to banish him. Steele never made that mistake twice. The clubhouse doors swung open with a bang, heavy boots stomped in the puddles outside, and Ryder, the club's vice president, rushed in with rain dripping from his hair and beard. His chest rose and fell like he'd sprinted the whole 2 miles from town. Steele didn't move. "Tell me you found her." Ryder swallowed hard. His voice came out rough. "We found his van." The room erupted. Chairs crashed. Men cursed and pounded fists against tables. The rage inside these bikers could have burned down the world. Steele raised a hand. The club instantly fell silent. "Where?" Steele asked. "Old Quarry Road," Ryder said. "Engine still warm, fresh tracks, some blood on the passenger seat. Might not be hers, we're not sure yet." "But Steele?" "What?" Steele growled. Ryder hesitated. He left something behind, on purpose. He reached into his jacket and placed a single object on the table, a silver chain. Lyra's. Steele's eyes locked onto it. Something cold and ancient flickered inside him. The room seemed to shrink. Even the thunder outside paused to listen. "He wants you to come after him," Ryder said quietly. Steele laughed, but there was no humor in it. Only death. Good. Lyra Carver's world came back in pieces. Light. Too bright. Rope. Around her wrists. A bitter taste. Duct tape, or maybe fear. Her head throbbed like she'd been thrown against something hard. Her mouth was dry as dust. When she tried to move, pain shot through her shoulders and back. Her hands were tied above her, hooked to some metal bar. She hung in a sitting position on a damp concrete floor. A basement, or a bunker, or hell. Her vision sharpened slowly. A single hanging bulb burned overhead. Mold crawled along the walls. Water dripped somewhere behind her with slow, echoing splashes. And in front of her, a chair, empty, for now. Her heartbeat quickened. Every instinct told her not to make a sound. Her father had raised her strong, taught her how to hide fear behind warning eyes. But here, like this, it felt impossible. Then footsteps approached. Heavy. Confident. A predator's walk. Zane Cade stepped into the light. His grin spread slowly, like oil across a surface. "Welcome back, princess." Lyra forced her chin up. "Go to hell." "Oh, sweetheart," Zane murmured. "We're already there." He crouched in front of her, his cold brown eyes studying her face like a butcher picking a cut of meat. "You're probably wondering why," he said. "No," she spat. "I know why. Because you're a coward." Zane's smile twitched, a crack in the mask. "Your father ruined me," he hissed. "Took my turf, burned my labs, drove me out like trash. Do you know how long I've waited to get my hands on something he loves?" Lyra refused to flinch. Zane leaned closer. She could smell the chemical stench of whatever he'd been cooking. "Your daddy's coming, and when he gets here, I want front row seats to watch him break." Lyra's pulse hammered. She held herself still, but inside terror curled tight like a fist. "My father will kill you," she said quietly. Zane laughed. "I'm counting on it." He stood and snapped his fingers. 2 men stepped into the room, big, armed, and masked. One carried a camera. The other held a phone. Lyra's stomach twisted. "No," she whispered. "Oh, yes," Zane said. "Time to send Daddy a message." Back at the clubhouse, the men gathered around the long wooden table. Ryder placed a burner phone on it. It rang twice, he said, then stopped. Steele's expression didn't change. Call it back. Ryder tried. Busy signal. He'll call again, Steele muttered. Minutes dragged by. Each second tightened the air until breathing felt optional. Finally, the phone buzzed. Steele snatched it up. The screen lit with a blocked number. A video began to play. The room froze. Lyra, bound, bruised, breathing hard, her eyes bright but scared. Two masked men stood behind her. Then Zane stepped into the frame. Evening, Steele, he purred. I think you lost something. Rage detonated across Steele's face. Ryder grabbed his arm to ground him. Zane continued. Just thought I'd show you she's alive, for now. You want her back? You'll come alone. Midnight, old freight yard, bring weapons and she dies before you clear the fence. The video ended. Steele stared at the blank screen like he wanted to crush it in his fist. That's a trap, Ghost muttered. Of course it's a trap, Ryder snapped. But Lyra, I'm going, Steele said. Every biker jolted. Then we're coming too, Hawk said. Steele shook his head slowly. He'll kill her before I get close if he sees any of you. Steele, Ryder said, voice rough. He's not letting her go either way. That's not who he is. You show up alone. You're dead. She's dead. Everyone's dead. Steele didn't answer. He just stared at his daughter's last expression on the frozen screen. Fear fighting exhaustion. Ryder stepped forward. Let's outsmart him. We know that freight yard. Half the buildings are hollow underneath. Tunnels, drains, vents. We can surround them without showing ourselves. You walk in alone. Make him think he's in control. We strike from every angle. Steele didn't look up. The table stood in silence, all eyes on their president, S. Broad, unmoving back. Finally, Steele spoke, voice low as thunder. We find her. We protect her. And when she's safe... He exhaled a breath that sounded like a vow carved from bone. We end him. The club roared in agreement, but Steele lifted a hand again, jaw clenched. When this starts, he said, there's no mercy, no holding back, no second chances. We weren't planning on any, Hawk murmured. Steele nodded once. Gear up. The room exploded into motion. Chains clanked, guns clicked, boots thundered. Leather vests hit broad shoulders as the iron wolves prepared for war. Steele didn't move until the room cleared. Then, alone, he pressed Lyra's silver chain into his palm. I'm coming, baby girl, he whispered. Hold on. Back in the bunker, Lyra fought the rope binding her wrists. The coarse fibers tore her skin, but she kept pulling until her shoulders screamed. She had to escape. She had to try. She tested every angle, shifting weight, twisting her hands, trying to loosen a knot. But Zane's men were good at tying restraints. Too good. She cursed under her breath. The basement door opened again. Zane walked in holding a small metal case. Her stomach dropped. No, she whispered. Yes, he said calmly. Little incentive so Daddy understands I'm serious. He opened the case. Syringes. Tiny glass vials. Clear liquid. Some kind of sedative? Something worse? Lyra shook her head hard. Don't touch me, I swear. You can scream, Zane said, but nobody's hearing you down here. He grabbed her arm. She jerked away, kicking at him. He snarled and slapped her across the face. Stars burst in her vision. Hold her, Zane snapped. The masked men pinned her shoulders and legs. She thrashed anyway, her voice breaking with fury. You don't need to die, Zane murmured as he prepared a needle. You just need to cooperate. I will never cooperate with you. Oh, Lyra, he sighed almost affectionately. It's not really your choice. She screamed, twisting violently, but the needle came closer. Suddenly, the door upstairs slammed open so loudly the bulb flickered. 3 men looked up. Zane frowned. What the hell was... A gunshot exploded. Then another. Then shouts, screams, boots pounding overhead. Lyra's heart rocketed. The Iron Wolves had found them. They were early. They were already here. The bulb swayed as chaos erupted above. Zane shoved the case into a bag. Move her. Now. The masked men hoisted Lyra roughly to her feet. Her wrists burned as she was dragged toward a side door she hadn't seen before. Where are you taking me? She yelled. Zane's face twisted. Out the back. We're not done yet. Lyra dug her heels in despite the pain. My dad is coming. He'll kill you. Zane grabbed her chin so hard she cried out. Not if I kill him first. He shoved her through the door into the darkness beyond. Above them, a biker roared, "Lyra, we're here!" Her heart jumped. But then, gunfire erupted again. Screams, a crash, boots running, and the door slammed shut between her and the rescuers. That night, the Iron Wolves didn't expect what they walked into. Zane hadn't set up one trap. He'd set up 6, and the basement wasn't the only place he was hiding someone. Lyra wasn't the only hostage. And the freight yard meeting he demanded at midnight? That wasn't a negotiation. It was the beginning of a war. A drug dealer kidnapped the biker president's daughter. What the club did next was brutal. Gunfire rattled the walls like someone beating on metal drums. Dust fell from the ceiling as the chaos above intensified. Lyra stumbled as the masked men dragged her through the back corridor, her wrists still bound, shoulders aching. Her heartbeat hammered so loudly she could barely think. Her father was here, the club was here, hope flared. But Zane's fingers dug into her arm. "Don't get excited," he snarled. "They're not winning." Lyra twisted, rage burning hotter than fear. "You're scared." Zane's eyes flashed with something dark, ugly. "I'm careful. That's why I'm still alive. Your father. Not for long." He yanked her through a rusted metal door into a narrow underground passage. Cold air rushed over her skin, thick with the smell of damp dirt and mildew. The passage curved out of sight, lit only by dim emergency lights. Lyra stumbled but kept her head high. "If you kill my dad, the whole country will hear what the Iron Wolves do to you," Zane snapped. "Shut her up." A masked man slapped duct tape across her mouth, jerking her head sideways. Lyra let out a muffled cry. Then they shoved her forward again. Behind them, the sounds of the fight continued. Shouts, boots, the crash of something heavy, the hard echo of gunshots. Her lungs tightened with every step. She didn't know who was winning. She didn't know if her dad was hurt. The fear nearly cracked her in half, but she refused to break. Upstairs, Ryder ducked behind a metal beam as bullets ricocheted. Sparks flew, the air smelled of gunpowder and adrenaline. 6 Iron Wolves had entered through the broken side door, but they'd instantly come under fire from 3 hidden shooters. "They're using armor plates," Hawk shouted from behind a flipped table. Ryder cursed. "Steele, you see Lyra?" "No!" Steele shouted back from across the room, firing 2 rounds through a gap in the wall. "She's not up here!" The wolves moved with brutal efficiency. Years of riding together had forged them into something closer than soldiers, brothers, synced by instinct. But Zane's men were organized too, and they had dug in positions deeper in the building. Steele shot another attacker, dropping him with a clean hit to the leg before Ghost rushed in to disarm him. Ryder leaned toward Steele. "If Lyra wasn't here, where the hell is she?" Steele reloaded. "Zane's running, but why leave the van as bait? Why send a video? Why?" Steele's eyes widened as realization hit him like a freight train. "He's forcing us to split up," Steele said. "He wants me isolated at the freight yard," Ryder cursed. "That meeting was never about negotiation. It's a damn execution." Steele's jaw clenched. "We find her first." He spoke into his mic. "Hawk, check the lower levels." "I'm already on it," Hawk replied. Steele's pulse thundered. Zane was slippery, strategic, petty, and if he had Lyra somewhere else in this maze... He didn't finish the thought. He slammed another round into his gun. "We move," he ordered. The Iron Wolves surged forward, cutting down the last shooter and storming deeper into the building. In the underground tunnel, Lyra's legs nearly gave out. Her shoes scraped against cracked concrete as she fought to keep pace under the men's forceful grip. Zane didn't let up. "We're taking her to the van," he muttered. New location, new leverage. Lyra's chest tightened. Every shift in Zane's plan could end her life. Everything depended on her staying alert. The tunnel split in 2. Zane paused, listening. Faint sounds drifted from the left, the rustle of movement, someone breathing hard, something metallic scraping. Zane signaled right. They moved, but they didn't know someone was already trailing them, stalking them, following the sound of Lyra's muffled footsteps through the darkness. It was Hawk. He had slipped through a back stairwell and found the tunnel entrance moments after Zane fled. He spotted drops of blood, small beads that could have come from Lyra or one of the masked men. He didn't hesitate. He followed. Every muscle in his body was coiled for violence. The tunnel ended at a heavy iron door. Zane shoved it open. The night air burst inside, cold, damp, carrying the scent of pine and rain. They emerged behind an old processing plant, abandoned for decades and overtaken by vines. A black SUV sat idling nearby. Lyra's stomach dropped, but then A shadow moved behind a stack of pallets. Quiet, controlled, waiting. Hawk. He was alone. He made eye contact with Lyra for a fraction of a second. A signal. A promise. Lyra's pulse surged. Zane didn't notice. He shoved Lyra toward the SUV. Just as a masked man opened the back door, crack! A gunshot split the air. The masked man dropped. Zane spun, gun raised. "Who's there?" Hawk stepped out, weapon drawn. "Let her go," Zane snarled, grabbing Lyra and dragging her against his chest, using her as cover. She struggled desperately, screaming behind the tape. "No, no, no, princess," Zane hissed. "You're coming with me. Your daddy will get his little meeting after all, at your funeral." Hawk's voice dropped to steel. "If you shoot her, there won't be enough pieces of you left to bury." Zane fired wildly. Hawk dove behind the pallets, bullets tearing through wood. Zane pushed Lyra into the SUV, slamming the door. "Drive!" he barked at the remaining masked man. The tires screeched. "No!" Hawk roared, firing at the engine. One bullet hit the hood. Steam burst upward. The SUV fishtailed but kept moving. Hawk sprinted after it. Lyra slammed her shoulder against the door, trying to force it open from inside, wrists still tied. She kicked until her skin bruised. Nothing budged. Zane glared back at her. "Sit tight, Daddy's waiting." Lyra's heartbeat hammered in her ears. She wasn't helpless. Not yet. Back at the building, Steele reached the far end of the lower corridor, just as Hawk's voice crackled in the comms. "Steele, Zane's got her. Black SUV. He's heading northwest. I'm on foot, can't catch up." Steele's chest locked. Ryder cursed violently. "We need wheels now." Steele ran for his bike, parked by the broken wall. "Everyone, mount up!" The iron wolves thundered outside like a storm unleashed. Engines howled to life. Steele swung onto his black custom Harley, rage burning so hot his vision blurred for half a second. Ryder pointed toward the forest access road. "He's heading for the freight yard early." Steele revved the engine. "Then we cut him off. Tunnels might lead him out anywhere," Ghost warned. Steele bared his teeth. "He's not escaping. Not tonight." He took off, the wolves close behind. The chase was on. In the SUV, Lyra scanned the floor with frantic movements. She saw a tool, something metal, from when she had kicked during the struggle. A broken piece of a bracket. Sharp. She twisted her body, contorting painfully until she managed to wedge the shard into her tied wrists. The vehicle swerved violently as it sped through muddy ground. The shard pierced the rope. Lyra gritted her teeth. She pulled, hard, then harder. Fibers snapped, her wrists tore open, but finally, the rope loosened. Lyra's hands were free. She ripped off the duct tape, gasping for air. Zane glanced back. "Sit down!" Lyra didn't sit. She grabbed the bracket fragment, aimed for the window, and smashed it. Glass shattered outward. "Wind burst in," Zane shouted. "What the?" Lyra didn't wait. She threw herself out of the moving SUV. Pain exploded everywhere, shoulder, hip, leg. As she hit the ground, rolled and slammed into a patch of wet grass. She gasped, stunned, body screaming. The SUV screeched to a halt. Zane jumped out, gun drawn. Lyra forced her broken, aching legs under her. She ran. Branches whipped her face as she crashed through the forest, lungs burning. Behind her, Zane roared, "Lyra, you can't run from me," but she could. She did, because she could hear something else in the distance. Engines, dozens of them, coming fast. Hope ignited. Then, a gunshot blasted the bark off a tree inches from her head. Lyra stumbled, falling to her knees. Zane was closing in. He grabbed her hair and yanked her upward, gun pressed to her back. "I said you're coming with me." Lyra choked on a sob of pain. Then, boom, a shotgun fired. Zane's grip loosened. He staggered, falling sideways. Hawk stood at the tree line, breathing hard, shotgun smoking in his hands. "Let her go," Zane snarled, face twisted, but he didn't get up. He couldn't. He tried to lift his gun. Hawk fired again. Zane collapsed, bleeding into the mud, screaming in agony. Lyra crawled away, shaking. Hawk sprinted to her. "Lyra, you okay? Talk to me." I think my leg," she gasped, tears spilling. "I jumped. I thought he'd kill me. I had to." Hawk lifted her gently. "You did good. your dad is coming." Lyra sobbed into his shoulder as he carried her toward the clearing. In the distance, the roaring of Harley engines grew louder. Headlights pierced through the trees. Steele's bike appeared first, slicing through the darkness like a predator. The moment he saw his daughter, his world slammed to a stop. "Lyra!" he bellowed, jumping off the bike before it even fully stopped. Hawk lowered her to the ground. Steele fell to his knees, gathering her into his arms, crushing her against his chest. Lyra cried, burying her face into him. "Daddy, I thought—" Steele's voice cracked. "I'm here. I've got you." Ryder and the rest of the wolves circled around, forming a protective ring. But then Hawk nodded toward the trees. "Zane's not dead. He's still breathing." Steele slowly stood up, eyes full of hellfire. "Good." He handed Lyra to Ryder. "Take her back," Steele said. "Don't let her see what happens next." Lyra grabbed his hand weakly. "Dad, please." Steele kissed her forehead. Gentle, heartbreaking. "Close your eyes, baby girl." He turned. His voice dropped into something primal. "Wolves," he ordered, "with me." They moved as one, toward Zane, toward the final reckoning, toward the brutality no one would survive unchanged. The night wasn't over. The war had just begun. The wolves moved through the trees with grim, lethal purpose. The night was cold, the moon half hidden behind clouds, but their rage burned hot enough to melt steel. Steel Carver led the way, each footstep so heavy it sank into the wet soil. Every muscle in his body trembled, not from fear but from fury held barely in check. Ahead of them, lying in the mud with his leg torn open from Hawk's shotgun blast, was Zane Cade. He tried to sit upright as they approached. Blood soaked through his jeans, his face twisted with pain and hate. Steele didn't slow down. The wolves formed a semicircle around him, weapons drawn, but waiting for their president. Zane spat blood into the dirt. "Had to play the hero, didn't you, Steele?" Steele's voice came low, calm. Too calm. "You touched my daughter." Zane laughed, high, unhinged. "You drove me out. You burned everything I built. You left me nothing. What'd you expect? A thank you?" Steele stepped forward until he towered over him. "I expected you to stay gone." "Well," Zane sneered, "you expect too much." Steele's boot slammed into Zane's gut, folding him in half. Zane gasped, coughing violently, face contorted. The wolves didn't blink. They had seen Steele angry before. They had never seen him like this. Steele grabbed Zane's shirt, dragging him upright. "You kidnapped my child. You drugged her, tied her up. You meant to torture her." Zane grinned through broken teeth. "And I would've, if you were 10 minutes later." Steele's fist crashed into his jaw. Zane's head snapped back. Ryder stepped forward. "Steele." Steele raised a hand. The whole forest went silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. "Stand back," Steele ordered. "Brother." Ryder tried again. "Stand back." The club obeyed. Steele dropped to one knee beside Zane, gripping him by the collar so tightly the man wheezed. "You wanted a war?" Steele's voice was a deadly whisper. "You got one. But this ends tonight." Zane coughed, spit red, and tried to laugh. "You think killing me changes anything? You think the market stops? You think my boys aren't coming?" Steele leaned in close. "I don't care about your boys." His voice dropped into something primal. "This is personal." Zane swung a blade he had hidden in his sleeve. A desperate, sloppy strike. Steele caught his wrist midair. A slow, cold smile touched Steele's lips. "You're done." He twisted. Zane screamed as bone cracked. Steele ripped the blade from his hand and tossed it aside. The wolves watched, silent, unmoving. Judgment had already been passed. Steele rose to his feet slowly, breathing hard, chest heaving. "You don't get a clean death," he said. Zane crawled backward, dragging his destroyed leg through the mud. "Wait, Steele, listen." Steele shook his head. "You hurt Lyra." He lifted his gun. Zane's eyes widened in terror. "No, wait." Steele fired. One shot, clean. Between the eyes, Zane fell backward, lifeless, finally silent. The forest swallowed the sound. The wolves lowered their weapons. Hawk exhaled. "About damn time." Ryder kicked dirt near the corpse. "This should have happened years ago." Steele didn't move. He just stared down at the body. Zane's face frozen in a look of disbelief, as if he'd never thought he could lose. Hawk placed a hand on Steele's shoulder. She's safe now. Steele nodded slowly, the rage finally draining from his posture, replaced by exhaustion and something far more fragile, fear of what he almost lost. "Where's Lyra?" Steele asked. "Back with Ryder," Hawk said. "He's got her wrapped in a jacket. Kid's shaken, but she's alive." Steele holstered his gun, breathing shakily. "Take me to her." The wolves moved together through the trees. Lyra sat propped against a stump, wrapped in Ryder's thick riding jacket. Her leg throbbed, her head pounded. Her skin was scraped and bruised from the jump, but she didn't care. She just wanted her dad. When Steele emerged from the forest, her breath broke. "Daddy!" Steele dropped to his knees in front of her and pulled her into his arms, hugging her so tight she felt the tremble in his muscles. "You're safe," he whispered, voice shaking for the first time in years. "My baby girl. My brave girl." Lyra clung to him, crying into his shoulder. I thought you wouldn't make it." Steele cupped her face gently. "Nothing on this earth could keep me from you." Hawk stood guard nearby, scanning the tree line, but his expression softened as he watched the reunion. Ryder cleared his throat, eyes suspiciously wet. "We gotta get her to Doc. That jump messed her up." Lyra sniffed, leaning against her dad. "I'm fine." Steele smiled at her through pain-strained eyes. "You're tough, but you're hurt." She nodded. Steele lifted her carefully, cradling her like he had when she was small. "I've got you," he murmured. He carried her toward the bikes. The ride back to the clubhouse was quiet, tense, and heavy with exhaustion. The wolves escorted their president and his daughter like royal guards. Every headlight stayed close. Every engine hummed low, protecting their own. Doc was waiting the moment they arrived. Lyra winced as he examined her leg. Sprained, not broken, shoulders bruised. "You hit the ground hard, kid." Steele's jaw tightened. She jumped from a moving SUV. Doc looked impressed. Hell of a will to live. Lyra managed a weak smile. Didn't want to make it easy for him. Steele kissed her forehead. "That's my girl." Hawk leaned against the wall. She fought harder than most grown men. Lyra smirked. "I learned from the best." The wolves chuckled softly, small sounds but warm, relief-filled. Doc wrapped her leg and shoulder, gave her pain meds and ordered rest. Lyra looked at her father, voice soft. "Did you—" Steele nodded before she could finish. "He's gone." Lyra exhaled through her trembling lips, part relief, part sorrow for what had driven her father to that brutal end. "Are you okay?" she asked. Steele hesitated. The truth was complex, but, for her, he kept it simple. "I will be," he said, "because you're alive." Lyra leaned her head against him. "I love you, Dad." Steele wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. "I love you too." The room fell quiet, safe, warm. For the first time in hours, Lyra closed her eyes and felt the crushing fear loosen its hold. She was home. She was safe. And Zane could never hurt her again. Later that night, the wolves gathered outside. The fire pit crackled. The moon was fully visible now, casting silver reflections across wet asphalt. Ryder, Hawk, Ghost, Flint, they circled Steele. "President," Ryder began, "tonight was messy, dangerous, too damn close." Steele nodded grimly. "I know." Hawk crossed his arms. "Zane had help. Could be others out there still loyal to him, or wanting revenge," Ghost added. Steele looked at all of them, eyes steady. "We'll protect this club, we always do." Ryder stepped forward, clapping Steele's shoulder. "We almost lost her. And we almost lost you along with her. That can't happen again." Steele exhaled long and slow. "There's going to be changes." The wolves nodded. Whatever Steele decided, the club would follow. But tonight wasn't about club politics. Tonight wasn't about territory. Tonight was about survival, family, loyalty, and gratitude that they weren't digging a grave for their president's daughter. Steele slipped inside the quiet hallway and entered Lyra's room. She slept soundly now, curled beneath blankets, her face peaceful. Steele sat beside her, running a hand through her hair. "You're stronger than you know," he whispered. Her fingers twitched, like she could hear him even in sleep, and she murmured something he couldn't decipher. Steele smiled, small, tired, but real. He would never forget tonight. What almost happened, what could have been taken from him, what he almost lost. But Zane's chapter was closed, and a new one had begun. The wolves would rebuild, Lyra would heal, Steel would protect her with a force the world would learn to fear. Family wasn't blood, it wasn't club cuts, it wasn't the roar of engines. It was the moments where you held someone so tight you swore your soul wrapped around theirs. It was the terror of almost losing them, and the fire that rose to make sure you never did. Steel kissed her forehead gently. "Good night, baby girl." He turned off the bedside lamp. Outside, the wolves kept watch. Inside, the nightmare faded, and the Carver family began to breathe again. The war was over. The wolves had won. And nothing would ever touch his daughter again.